We're officially making our first practice batch of Dandelion Honey. I just, right now, am boiling some water and apple juice together, and then we're going to pour it on top of these, and we're going to let it steep overnight into like a tea. And then tomorrow is when we're actually going to make the honey. But I'm very excited anyway. I want to see if it's going to turn bright yellow when I dump the hot water on it. I bought a pet rock today. It looks like a very angry marshmallow peep. I've put it in with the birds, but now it looks like it's glaring at the birds. The way the petals have settled, it almost looks like my zucchini jelly does when I've made it. What is the next morning? It didn't turn brightly yellow like I want, but that's fine. I will be doing some more stuff with that in a minute. First though, I need to go carry all of this to the camper that I usually cook in, because we have, one of my relatives has a camper here and it has a much bigger kitchen, so it's a lot better suited for making jelly. So we're gonna have to carry all these over there. Alright, so this is the best angle I can get with the way this camper is set up. So there's the stove. We'll watch not very exciting videos of me boiling pots of water. So what I'm gonna do is take this jar of dandelion tea I steeped last night. I'm going to put it through the strainer I have and squeeze out as much of the water as I can. And then with the petals that are left over, I'm gonna add 1 cup of water and boil those for a little bit to see if they lose any more color. And then once I've done that, I'll strain those as well. And then we will run it all through the jelly strainer so it's super clear, and then we'll actually start cooking the jelly. I kind of amass a bunch of recipes like online and stuff when I want to make a new jelly, and then I adjust it to my preferences, because most jellies call for a lot more sugar than I like. So I'll adjust that, and then there's certain like cooking techniques that I prefer. So this is the first experimental batch. It could take 3 or 4 before I've settled on a recipe I like. And since this is supposed to be a honey, not a jelly, the hardest part is going to be figuring out the consistency, because I don't really know how to make a thick syrup like that without reducing it a ton and making it with tons of sugar. So we might end up with a jelly honey instead of a syrupy honey. So I'm going to be putting the dandelion juice in here. If you hear any weird noises, it's just the water pot boiling. But where did I put? Oh, my strainer. I couldn't find it because I had the jelly bag on it. I need a small bowl, but I don't think we have one in here. I think I took it out last year and never replaced it. Yeah. But this is fine for what I need, because I don't need this to be like completely free of dandelions, because we still will be running it through the jelly bag. Yay! It did get pretty yellow. Not as yellow as I expected, but it got yellow. It smells like, I don't know how to explain it, almost like a cooked broccoli, but like not quite. So generally my cooking setup here is pretty cramped. I have the big pot on the front and then the little pot in the back. And what I'll do, not this time, but when I'm making a bigger batch of jelly than what I'm doing right now, because I'm only doing like 2 cups right now, I'll do the pre-processing for the juice, which is what I'm doing now, and I'm extracting the juice from whatever plant I am trying to make it from. And while once that is ready, I will take this off, set it aside. It'll still be pretty hot, and then I can put my big pan, my big pot down in its place. And then once that is done, because that will be the final jelly, I can put that back on and it will be really fast to heat back up again because it will still be hot. And then by the time I have filled all the jars, which are in the pot right now, I'll be able to boil them. For my jelly, I always use turbinado sugar because I like the way it tastes better than white sugar. Usually I try to find fair trade brands, but they didn't have any at the store this time, so I need to order it online. But usually, so when I make Oregon grape jelly, it'll take that whole box because it'll take 4 cups. For this, I'm going to try it with 2 cups, and I'm going to pre-measure all of it out, all of my other ingredients out, so that they're ready as soon as my juice is. I've dissolved the pectin, I'm using 3 tablespoons, into a very small amount of the juice. And I have now strained the juice. It didn't take very long because it's not like the Oregon grapes. I don't have to fight all the seeds. So we're going to combine these and then we're going to bring them to a boil together. If you were using a liquid pectin, you would actually wait until it was already boiling before you added the pectin. And so it's going to be the cooking phase where most of the guesswork comes in, because I am using pectin, so if I cook it too long it will turn into just an actual jelly. If I cook it halfway, then it will turn into a soft jelly, and I can't find any of my notes on making syrup with pectin, because I do have some somewhere. So I'm going to basically go off the instructions as it states them without adjusting for my altitude, because normally I have to add about 10 minutes to cooking times. So we're just not going to do that, and we're going to see if that's undercooked enough that it won't set into a solid jelly. The minute it starts boiling, which will take a little bit, I will be adding the sugar, and that will actually make it more yellow because I do use the turbinado, which has that gold color already. And I'm hoping it clears up a little bit because the apple juice I used was a cold pressed apple juice, so it had a lot of apple particulates in it, I guess you could say. But if it doesn't, then next time I'll just use whole apples and cook them in with the dandelion petals so that we still get the pectin but we don't have that cloudiness. Once the sugar is in, you can stir it until it starts boiling again. Once it starts boiling again, you don't want to touch it at all anymore because stirring it will make it crystallize, or so I've heard. It's never happened to me, but I'm sure it's true. So you don't stir it once it starts boiling again, and it's once it reaches a rolling boil that you start your timer. I'm gonna cook it for 5 minutes. I don't have a timer here, I just have a clock that I have to stare at because I forgot my timer. It has cleared up though, so I'm very happy about that. It's a lot clearer than it was. At this point, I literally have no idea if it's gonna work. It might just stay a juice, which is my worst fear, but let's dig out all these little jars. I don't know how many I'm gonna need. But I boiled, I think, 7. This water is very hot, but not as hot as I would like. So I'm gonna boil those lids a little longer. Here's one. I bought these unmarked jars. I really like them. It's because I want to sell the jelly and stuff on my Etsy. So I needed unmarked jars. So the color's really nice. It's almost like a sweet tea color. I don't know about the consistency. It's very watery. I actually let it stay on the stove for a little while longer. Like 10 minutes about. But we will find out. I hope it's slightly thick, even if it's not completely set. I just don't want it to stay as juice. Alrighty, so here are 3 of our fake honey jars. I took the other 2 out early just to see how their consistency was doing. They're kind of syrupy, but they're still very hot, so we won't really know what they're like until they've cooled. Now I have the pot here with warm water, and I'm actually going to use that to wash these dishes over here. And now that I've washed all those, we're just going to put the water in that bucket there, and we will use it to water later. I have tasted it. It's still too thin, so we'll either have to add more pectin next time or cook it longer. The apple taste is too strong, so I'm not going to use as much apple next time. And I might use less lemon, because I don't like the lemon taste either. You can only taste a very small amount of the dandelion, but what you can taste of the dandelion does actually taste like honey. So, we're gonna reprocess this batch, but first I'm gonna figure out some measurements. Sweet Lily managed to get into trouble without even leaving the property this time. She wasn't coming when I called her, so I went to see what she was doing. She found a squirrel nest, and she was trying to dig it up. So now she knows it's there, and every single time she goes outside, she wants to go back over there, so I have to sit and babysit her so that she won't go over there. She dug it up partially, not all the way, and she really wasn't over there long enough that I think the mother squirrel even noticed. But I am going to keep an eye on the spot, because if by tomorrow morning, I'd say, if it doesn't look like the nest has been put back together, I might have to go and get the little baby squirrels, because their mom might be assuming that they're dead. They're not. One of them was injured, but not badly, and then there were at least 2 others that were hanging out in there, which were completely fine. I actually had seen the nest before, and I thought it was an abandoned turkey nest, because it was a divot in the ground filled with hay and stuff, and I had thought it was a turkey nest that didn't have anything in it, and that's why the dog was messing with it, because I even poked around in there just to make sure there weren't eggs or anything, and there wasn't anything there, and then I left, and then I heard a squeak, and it was the dog trying to get some squirrels out, so. I have started reprocessing the dandelion honey. I'm not going to add any more pectin. I'm just going to add 2 cups of sugar once it starts boiling, and then we're going to let it boil for about 15 minutes with the lid off so that it can reduce down a little bit. I was going to add vanilla, but I don't have any. The flavor will still be too strong, the lemon and the apple, but if I can get it into a proper syrup, it'll be edible. I'm not going to recan them. I don't feel like digging the canner out and hauling all the water just for these 5 pots, since I'm not going to be selling these ones anyway, so I'm just going to put them in one of these big jars that I got over here. Okay, it's definitely thickening up. I've turned off the heat, and we're gonna hope that when it cools, it doesn't turn into candy. Lilith's got her first ice block of the season, and it's not even that hot out today. It's like 60 degrees and cloudy, but she was running around and she got way too hot. She's only had it for about maybe 3 minutes, and she's already melted an entire corner off of it. Yeah. She loves ice. Despite her hatred of water and being wet, she loves ice. And snow. Yes. Your ice cube. After recooking the honey, it's definitely thickened up. It's actually like the perfect consistency, but it did turn into jelly. Like you can see the little lumps of jelly in there. So what I'm hoping is that the amount of pectin I have is perfect, and that the only reason it jellied like that is because I cooked it twice. So we'll use the same amount of pectin, adjust the sugar and stuff like I want to for the next batch, and we will cook it 25 minutes from the start. If it still jellifies like that, then I'm going to reduce it to 2 tablespoons instead of 3. Alrighty, it's been about a week, and we are going to try round 2 with the dandelion syrup. This time I'm going to use apples instead of apple juice. These are pretty big apples, so I'm going to use 1.5. And since that will actually add pectin to it, I'm going to reduce my 3 tablespoons to 2 tablespoons. And we are going to cook the dandelion petals and the apples together for half an hour in this pot, because I want to see if I can extract more of the yellow color if I boil them. I've got quite a few apples in here, and then 2 cups of dandelions. We also, I don't know, a lot of these apples have some kind of something weird going on, so I had to throw a couple of them away, or put them in the compost pile. But I've never seen that before, so I don't know if that's some sort of new disease or something in the apples, because these are organic apples, so it might be some sort of weird new fungus. Because you really, from the outside, they look perfectly normal. It's just when you cut them open, they have that in them. The dandelions are cooked, and the dandelion smell is a lot stronger now that I've cooked them like this than they were with the first batch. The first batch really didn't smell like dandelions. So, yeah, it smells very flowery, almost like roses. So that's a good sign. I'm very excited for this batch. I have made some adjustments to some other stuff, like sugar quantity, things like that. It does look more yellow, so that's exciting. But we'll worry about that when I get to the other camper, which is the one I do my actual canning in, because there's more space to fit the big canning pot there. I juiced all of the apples and stuff into here. There's not a lot of juice, but that's fine. I'll add water to it. Lily's being a brat. Wants to go play outside, but we're not going outside. I finally got the dog to relax, so she's just laying down, chilling. Chilling, yes. We have 5 minutes left on our clock until we need to start pouring the jars. We've got 5 jars in the canning pot, a little over 5 ounces, 50 ounces total. I've tasted it, and I think next time I make it, I'm gonna try using white sugar, or maybe half white sugar, because the turbinado sugar is too strong, so even without the lemon and stuff, it's still too strong and you can't quite taste the dandelion. Okay, so this batch is perfectly clear because we didn't use any apple juice. We only used the fresh apples, which we cut up and boiled and strained out. So the color's a lot better. So once we make the adjustment for the sugar and use white instead of turbinado, it'll probably be very pale, I'm gonna guess, but we'll find out when we do that. I still don't know what kind of consistency these are gonna have until they cool, so they're gonna have to sit here for quite a while and cool off so that I can figure out if they're gonna gel or if they're just gonna be a syrup, or even if they turn into a candy, because that is always a possibility, because I don't have a candy thermometer, so I might just make big jars of candy. So this batch hasn't thickened either. I don't think I boiled it long enough because it's not quite as dense as it should be. It's also possible that that 1 tablespoon of pectin I removed makes all the difference, so we'll have to figure that out. I'll reboil this batch just like the first one, and it's gonna go in a reject jar like that guy. I'm gonna have a few of those sitting around because it doesn't need to go in the little canning jars if it doesn't need to. Hi. Hi. There's nothing in there you can drink. It's not how glass works.